Donna Vekić just won a WTA 500 title without even being in the main draw. She lost in qualifying at Queen's Club, drove to the practice courts at Roehampton, and was stretching for a quiet afternoon when her phone rang. Marta Kostyuk had pulled out. Vekić drove back, laced up her shoes, and proceeded to beat 5 opponents in a row, including former world number 1 Karolina Pliskova, British number 3 Katie Boulter, and Emma Raducanu in a final she won 6-0, 7-6 to lift the biggest grass court trophy of her career. That was yesterday. Now she flies to Berlin, unpacks her bag at the LTTC Rot-Weiss, and walks onto another grass court to face Alex Eala, a 21-year-old from the Philippines who has beaten her in both of their previous meetings. If you think this matchup is straightforward, you haven't been paying attention to either of these women in 2026. Let's set the scene first. The Bet1 Open Berlin Tennis Open is a WTA 500 event running from June 15 through June 21 on grass at one of the most traditional tennis clubs in Germany. The draw is stacked. Aryna Sabalenka is the top seed. Elena Rybakina is seeded second. Jessica Pegula, Coco Gauff, Alina Svitolina, Karolina Muchova. This is not a tune-up event. This is the final major preparation window before Wimbledon, and the best players in the world are treating it accordingly. Into this field walks Eala on a wild card and Vekic as a direct entry, and the draw has placed them across from each other in the very first round. Their match is scheduled for Monday, June 15th. For viewers in the Americas, the Berlin Open will be broadcast on Tennis Channel, which is available both as a cable channel and through streaming platforms. The WTA's official website maintains a comprehensive broadcast guide listing regional partners worldwide. So, if you're outside the United States, that's the place to check. The WTA also offers some coverage through its own platforms for registered members. The key thing is that every main draw match at Berlin will be televised or streamed. This is a 500-level event with full production. So, finding the Eala Vekic match should not be difficult regardless of where you are. Now, on to the match itself, because the storylines here are layered in a way that simple rankings cannot capture. Donna Vekić arrived in London for Queen's Club ranked 76 in the world. That number represented the wreckage of a season that had gone sideways. After reaching a career high of 17 in early 2025, the crest of a wave that included a Wimbledon semi-final and an Olympic silver medal the year before, Vekic spent most of 2026 in slow decline. She lost in qualifying at Queen's to Anna Blinkova, which should tell you something about where her confidence stood just 10 days ago. The woman who took Zhang Qinwen to a gold medal match in Paris was losing to qualifiers in London. And then everything flipped. The lucky loser spot opened up and Vekic drove back to the club and something unlocked. Her serve, which she was clocking at 109 miles per hour in the semi-final against Boulter, became a genuine weapon. She won 100% of her attack points against Boulter, not a misprint, 100% and dropped just 6 points on serve in the entire match. In the final, she bageled Raducanu in the first set. She was moving like a different player, striking the ball with the kind of clean, flat authority that had taken her to the Wimbledon semi-finals 2 years earlier. 5 matches in 6 days, and by the end of it, she was holding a trophy above her head for the first time since Monterrey in 2023. Her 5th career title. Her first at the 500 level. So, the version of Vekic that shows up in Berlin on Monday is not the world number 76. She is a newly crowned grass court champion with 5 consecutive wins, peaking physical confidence, and the deep-set knowledge that she has done her best work on this surface. Nottingham champion in 2017. Wimbledon semi-finalist in 2024. Bad Homburg finalist the same year. Queen's champion now. Grass is Vekic's favorite surface, and she has said so publicly. The ball stays low. The points are short. Her flat ground strokes and heavy first serve become amplified rather than neutralized. At her best on grass, Vekic is a top 20 player regardless of what the ranking sheet says. But here's where this matchup gets genuinely interesting, because Alex Eala has already beaten this woman twice, and neither victory was a fluke. The first meeting came at the ASB Classic in Auckland in January. It was the opening round of Eala's 2026 season. Vekic won the first set 6-4 and appeared to be in control. Eala came back to take the second 6-4 and then the third 6-4, which is the kind of scoreline that reveals mental persistence rather than physical superiority. Eala did not blow Vekic off the court. She solved her incrementally, point by point, until the accumulated pressure tipped the balance. 2 days later at the Kuyong Classic, an exhibition, yes, but a competitive one, Eala beat her again. This time more comfortably, 6-3, 6-4. 2 matches. 2 wins. And in both cases, the tactical pattern was similar. Eala's return game disrupted Vekic's serve rhythm, and her ability to redirect pace from the baseline turned Vekic's power into a liability rather than an asset. Eala is left-handed, which creates angles that right-handed opponents rarely face in practice. Her forehand cross-court naturally moves away from a right-hander's backhand. Her serve kicks into the body in ways that feel unfamiliar. These are not abstract advantages. Against Vekic specifically, they have produced results. Eala comes into Berlin riding her own form. She won the Birmingham Open on June 7, beating Nikola Bartankova 5-7, 6-3, 7-5 in a final where she came back from a set down. That was her second WTA 125 title and her first on grass. Her career grass court record now sits at 15-8. A 65% clip that is genuinely strong for someone who only made her professional grass court debut in 2024. Before Birmingham, she beat Magdalena Frech and Wang Xinyu at the Italian Open to reach the third round of a WTA 1000 on clay, which showed that her game is no longer surface-dependent. Miami in 2025, she beat Madison Keys and Iga Swiatek back-to-back. At her best, this is a player who can hurt anyone on any given day. The complication, and every honest preview needs one, is what happened after Birmingham. Eala entered Queen's Club and ran into Iva Jovic in the second round. Jovic destroyed her 6-2, 6-2. It was the same player who had beaten Eala 6-4, 6-2 at Roland Garros 3 weeks earlier. 2 comprehensive losses to the same opponent in quick succession. Jovic served at 81% on first serve points and simply suffocated Eala with pace and precision. The Filipino looked hesitant, reactive, unable to impose herself. So, which Eala arrives in Berlin? The Birmingham champion who came back from a set down in a final, or the player who managed just 4 games against Jovic? That question matters enormously for this matchup because Vekic, in her current form, plays with some of the same aggressive instincts that Jovic used to overwhelm Eala. If Eala steps onto court in Berlin with the same passivity she showed at Queen's, Vekic, fresh from a title run and serving at 109 miles per hour, will punish her the way Jovic did. But there is a critical difference, and it cuts in Eala's favor. Vekic does not move the way Jovic does. Vekic's game is built on power and placement from a relatively stationary position. She hits big off both wings. She serves with genuine pace, and she finishes points at the net when she reads the play correctly. What she does not do especially well is absorb and redirect pace in extended rallies. Her footwork under sustained pressure can become mechanical rather than reactive. This is exactly the gap Eala exploited in Auckland. When Eala got enough returns back deep and forced Vekic to play 3, 4, 5 extra shots from the baseline, errors crept in. Vekic's forehand, reliable when she is dictating play, became loose when she was running and improvising. On grass, this dynamic speeds up. Points are shorter. There are fewer extended rallies, which theoretically benefits Vekic because it means fewer opportunities for Eala to drag her into uncomfortable patterns. A first serve that Eala might have returned on hard court becomes a clean ace on grass. A flat forehand that sat up at a comfortable height on Auckland's hard courts now skids through and stays low. Vekic's Queen's title was built precisely on this principle: short, aggressive points where her opponents never had time to settle. And yet, Eala has grass court results, too. Her Birmingham title was won on grass. Her 2025 run to the Eastbourne final, where she held 4 championship points against Maya Joint before losing in a final set tiebreak, was on grass. She knows how to play on the surface. Her lefty serve is effective because it moves differently on grass than opponents expect. The natural slice on her first serve pulls wide in the ad court, opening up the court for a forehand into the open space. Her return of serve, which is arguably the best part of her game, remains dangerous on grass because she takes the ball early and robs the server of time. Here is what I think decides this match. Eala's return game versus Vekic's serve. That is the entire contest distilled into one exchange. If Vekic serves the way she served against Bolter, hitting her spots, generating free points, holding comfortably, then the points will be too short for Eala to gain any traction. Vekic will hold serve easily, apply pressure on Eala's serve with her return power, and close this out in 2 sets. But if Eala can neutralize even 40% of Vekic's first serves, get them back deep, and force Vekic to play a second shot from a defensive position, then the match opens up. Eala does not need to break Vekic repeatedly. She needs to make Vekic feel like holding serve requires effort. Once that seed of doubt creeps in, Vekic's game has historically shown cracks. Her double fault rate climbs. Her second serve becomes tentative. The player who bageled Raducanu in a final can become the player who double faults at 4-5 in a second set. We have seen both versions across a 12-year professional career. There is also the matter of fatigue. Vekic played 5 matches in 6 days at Queen's Club, including a tight 3-setter against Pliskova in the quarterfinals. She had to complete a suspended match against Buzkova in the second round. That is an enormous volume of grass court tennis in a compressed window, and she now turns around with essentially 1 day of travel and recovery before stepping onto court in Berlin. She is 29 years old, turning 30 in 2 weeks. Her body has absorbed knee surgery, torn plantar fascia, and the accumulated mileage of 13 years on tour. The adrenaline of a title run can mask fatigue in the moment, but the Monday after a Sunday final is often where the bill comes due. IGA, by contrast, has had a slightly gentler schedule. She lost early at Queen's, which means she has had several days of rest and practice. She is 21. Recovery is not an issue the way it is for a veteran approaching 30. Her body is fresh. Her mind, though, is the variable. Losing 6-2, 6-2 to Jovic could sit in her head, or it could already be filed away as irrelevant to the next task. Players at this age tend to metabolize losses faster than veterans because they have less accumulated scar tissue. Every loss doesn't echo backward through a decade of similar memories, and why read on this match is that it goes 3 sets. I think Vekic's serving form from Queen's carries over into the opening set, and she takes it. Her ball striking will be sharp. Her confidence will be high. She will come out swinging because that is what title winners do in the immediate aftermath. They play freely without the inhibitions that losing produces. IGA will need a set to calibrate her returns to Vekic's pace and find her timing. In the second set, I expect IGA to settle. Her return position will adjust. She tends to creep inside the baseline as a match progresses, cutting down Vekic's reaction time. The lefty angles will start to bite. Vekic, meanwhile, may begin to feel the previous week in her legs. Not dramatically, not in any visible way, but in the half-step of recovery between shots that means the difference between a clean winner and a ball that clips the tape. And then the third set becomes about who wants it more, which is a cliché but also a genuine factor when 2 players with this history meet. Vekic knows Eala has beaten her twice. That knowledge sits somewhere in her competitive brain whether she acknowledges it or not. Eala knows she can beat Vekic. That knowledge is quieter, more confident, less burdened by expectation. I will pick Eala in 3 sets. I think she wins something like 4-6, 6-4, 6-3. The head-to-head record matters. The youth and freshness advantage matters. And the specific tactical geometry of this matchup, lefty returner against a power player whose movement is her weakest link, continues to favor the younger player even on grass. Even against a woman who just won a title on this surface. But I want to be honest about the margin here. If Vekic's serve stays at its Queen's level for 3 sets, she wins. If the adrenaline from the title run carries her through the fatigue window, she wins. This is not a certainty in either direction. It is a genuinely compelling first-round matchup between a newly crowned champion with momentum and an emerging star with a psychological edge meeting for the third time on a surface that amplifies both their strengths. The Berlin draw is structured so that the winner of this match faces a tough road regardless. Elena Rybakina, the second seed, holds a bye and waits in the same quarter. There are no easy paths here. But that is a problem for the second round. On Monday, the only thing that matters is what happens between these two on the grass at the LTTC Rot-Weiss. And I think it is going to be one of the best first-round matches of the entire grass court season. Set your reminders. Find your broadcast. This one is worth watching from the first ball.